Hello there, it's Tom here, and this is chapter 47 of Gunnerkrigg Court, See Ya. This is a follow-up from the previous chapter, as we follow Annie, Kat and Mort in the realm of the dead. And this chapter is shown more from Annie's perspective, and it will also tell the story of Mort when he was alive and the events that led to his death. And we start off showing Mort in front of a typical World War II advisory poster, urging people to move their kids out of major cities and areas that are likely to be bombed into the countryside where they'd be safer. And in this picture I show Mort literally standing inside the word London in the poster, and the area of the poster where the main city is, just to indicate that this is where he is currently living and where he died. And we also learn that his parents haven't had a chance to send him off to a safer place yet, which is unfortunate for Mort, as a bombing raid does eventually come. And while evacuating, Mort, while trying to do the right thing, sees somebody that he thinks might be in danger, so he goes off to help them, but unluckily for him it turns out to be Jones, who is in no way in any danger of being hurt. And the fact that Jones and Mort know each other was hinted right back in chapter 17 when Jones takes Annie and the rest of the mediums in training to see Mort in his little hangout. So, sadly for Mort, a bomb does end up landing nearby, and I didn't want to draw a page with a big explosion, but I did want to plainly indicate what exactly is happening, so I kind of spent some time looking at his basic schematics for these type of bombs that were used during the Blitz at the time. And so we get Mort waking up and Anki appearing. And the fact that Anki appears when Mort dies is a little hint that Mort's family probably has Breton roots. But that's kind of neither here nor there. I actually just really enjoy drawing Anki as well. And once Anki sees Jones, he sort of fangirls a little bit, which does end up causing a conflict in Mort's situation. And so the ROTD step in, and we see a typical vampire of the time coming out of the mystical doorway. And this little scene just shows how much authority and how much older Jones is over these creatures, since the realm of the dead does defer to her decision to not send Mort straight into the ether. Because in Jones's life she will have come across these creatures before, and it was actually her intervention that ended up sending Mort to Gunnerkrigg. And back with the main characters, Mort has decided that it is time for him to leave, and it'll be a way of helping Annie get some practice and sending people into the ether, since that is her ultimate goal for Joan. So Anki comes back, and I get to draw him in his element here. And it's pretty fun to draw the Realm of the Dead from Annie's point of view, but in a technical sense these backgrounds are more complicated to draw, so it was easier for me to draw a few select scenes from this point of view, whereas in the previous chapter when Annie and Kat and Mort are sort of running all over the place, I could imply what was going on with much simpler backgrounds in that chapter. And here Kat is seeing what Anki looks like. Since he's from outside the Realm of the Dead, Annie and Kat are seeing the same figure, unlike seeing just a guy in a costume like Kat did in the previous chapter. And so we come to a more modern-looking vampire. And at first I was reluctant to show a panel like this in a comic that should be for all ages. But then I figured it wasn't really anything that you wouldn't see in a Halloween decoration aisle. And because Annie talked to him normally and they have a regular conversation, it's more the actions of the creature that make it scary rather than what it looks like. And that's sort of a common theme that I've had throughout the story. And we learn the sad truth that Mort wasn't really playing an important role like he thought he was. Because right from the beginning, Mort has always said that scaring people was an important job that he had. But it turns out that he could have left whenever. But unfortunately, because of the time that he was taking when many people were being killed during the war, he was forgotten about and left at the court. And we see that this vampire guy is actually the same Bela Lugosi-looking vampire from before, just with a more contemporary look. And I wanted the Realm of the Dead to seem kind of like a bureaucracy that just works away in the background. And the scene here was just a way to drop a little more information on the arrow that's holding Joan. But so Annie returns to Mort and Kat after having said goodbye to Anki. She decides not to reveal to Mort that his job wasn't quite as important as he thought it was. And goodbyes are said, and we come to Mort's departure from the comic. And there isn't really much more to be said about that, other than the sequence of events that's going on. In this bonus page, I just go back to the scenes where Mort typically hung out, the scenes where he and Annie first met, and when he first met Kat, and the sort of little classroom that he haunts. And I finally focus on this big plaque that he has on the wall, this Dulce Decorum Est, which is an old Wilfred Owen poem that I learned back in school, which in itself is a diss track, I suppose, against an even older poem by Horace, which is a sort of condemnation of the lives lost in the First World War, just war in general. And this plaque has always been on the wall ever since Mort's first appearance, because right from the beginning I knew Mort's history and the role that he'd be playing in the story. And so I knew that this would be the way that he'd be departing from the comic. And with that said, Mort's role is over, so bye Mort. And the rest of you can come back for chapter 48, Tall Tales.